I flipped rocks in an abandoned quarry mine to see if there's any life left in this industrial wasteland.
So cool.
You see, I've flipped thousands of rocks in pristine habitats, but never in one that underwent over a century of harsh mining and human destruction. So I spent 3 days here, turning over 100 rocks in search of wildlife. First, I explored deep inside the mine itself. Then I explored the surrounding woods, and then finally the massive rock piles that were left behind. I stepped down into the abandoned mine, and after flipping just a handful of rocks, I found this Eastern American toad. Most amphibians couldn't survive in a habitat like this one, but toads have thick skin, and these ones are super resilient to habitat disturbance. It's not that uncommon to find these in urban backyards, so it makes perfect sense that there was one living here. I flipped another rock and found this wood snail. In Europe, these are found in just about everywhere, but here in North America, they're considered an introduced species. Disturbed habitats like this mine are often where introduced and invasive species take over first. And then under the third rock, I found a slug. This old limestone quarry is located in the middle of an island that's only accessible by plane or boat. But so far, the journey has seemed worth it because I was already finding a bunch of cool things that I wouldn't find otherwise.
There's lots of remnants of the old mine here.
There were a lot of old cables that were just left behind by the old mine operation.
I thought this was a snake at first.
And a bunch of other old things too.
Looks like an old gas can of some sort. And then there's an old wheelbarrow right next to it.
All reminders of the human presence here. But there were just as many signs of wildlife in the area. Like this old snake shed that I found laying in between the rocks.
Snake. Man, that'd be cool to find.
I kept on exploring the floor of the mine, flipping rocks along the way.
Just found a skull.
This old skull wasn't very big and it didn't have a beak, so it must have belonged to some sort of small mammal. I think there's a pretty good chance it was a chipmunk or a squirrel. I eventually stumbled across my first quarry mine reptile completely by chance.
Garter snake basking.
It was this completely harmless eastern garter snake. And one of the most fascinating things about this species is their variety. Their bodies are typically brown, gray, or olive, and most will have 3 stripes, one down the back and one on either side. Their stripes range from yellow, greenish, bluish, brown, or my favorite, some variation of red and orange. A super common find under the rocks here in the quarry mine were isopods. These have a ton of common names from woodlouse, pillbug, to roly-poly. Regardless of what you call them, they're super cool. I flipped a rock and underneath I found an old paper wasp nest.
That's a scary sight. Luckily, there's nothing in there though.
I flipped another large flat rock, but this time I wasn't as lucky.
There's a hornet nest over there. There's a hornet nest over there. Just flipped this rock and there's this big frog underneath.
A northern green frog, named for their obviously green head. But if you look closer at the circle behind their eye, you'll find the tympanum similar to an eardrum. And since this one is about the same size as the frog's eye, it means this one's a female. Flipping the next rock revealed an 8-legged arachnid that I've never seen before, because it's an invasive woodlouse spider, originally from the Mediterranean region. This spider has relatively large fangs, and they're used for taking their preferred prey of isopods. At this point, the sun was bouncing off the rocks and making it incredibly hot, and honestly, I kind of stopped finding anything. Not to mention, I had already spent the entire day down in the mine and I was starting to lose sunlight. So on day 2, I spent my effort exploring the woods surrounding the mine. Under the shade of the trees, the air temperature was cooler here, and different animals will live in forested areas compared to the open landscape of the mine.
I think there's something down in this hole. Oh. It's Olight's new Arc Pro Ultra flashlight.
In all seriousness, thank you Olight for sponsoring this video. The Arc Pro Ultra is the perfect flashlight for my adventures because it's super bright, super lightweight, and it just looks awesome. And now anyone can get theirs engraved just like mine. Before, I'd have to carry 3 different lights, but this one does it all. The Arc Pro Ultra features Olight's very first self-developed LED. It has floodlight mode to really light things up, as well as spotlight mode for close detailed work. I used this mode to find this wood frog in the dark one night. And one of my most favorite features is the UV light. A lot of different animals will fluoresce or glow under UV light, and it's been a lot of fun seeing which do and which don't. Millipedes often fluoresce, which is super interesting, but American toads definitely don't glow. On top of all of these features, I can't forget to mention that this thing also has a laser pointer, and it can even be used at the same time as the other 3 modes. The whole setup weighs basically nothing, and it's perfect for everyday use. It pretty much lives in my pocket at this point, but it also has this clever clip. It can clip into your pocket or onto your backpack like this, and I'll even clip one on my hat to use as a headlamp. Over the past few months, I've had the chance to use the Arc Pro as well as the Arc Pro Ultra, and both of them are incredible and would make great gifts. So check out the link in my description, and thank you again, Olight. Even in the woods, I was still finding remnants of the old mine.
It's an old handle to something.
I spent some time flipping rocks in the woods, but it wasn't very productive. I flipped this old shovel that I found, and underneath I found another snail.
Snail shell.
Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw what at first I thought were two spiders fighting each other. But when I took a closer look, I realized that it was a harvestman, commonly mistaken for a spider, but belonging to its own ancient lineage. And it just caught itself a fresh meal. A small but important part of the intricate food web right in the woods, reclaiming the mine's edge. On day 3, I moved on to finally explore the large rock piles that the mining operation had left behind. One end of the mine was completely littered with these large flat boulders. It was pretty much the perfect habitat to find snakes in. And as expected, within just a few minutes, I found a snake moving through the rock pile.
I think I'm gonna try to catch it. Cool. I got it. Awesome. That was way easier than I thought it would be.
This is an eastern fox snake, and they're special because you can only find them in a very limited range. Naturally a marsh species, but it's adapted to human disturbance. They've been thriving in structures created by humans just like this one.
They're named after their musk, which apparently smells like foxes. I've never smelled a fox, so I literally have no idea if that's true or not.
And despite being one of the most docile wild snakes I encounter, this species is often persecuted for 2 mistaken identities. The first is rattlesnake, because a fox snake will shake its tail to deter predators. And second, because of their bold color and pattern, people often mistake them for copperheads. Both misidentifications involve venomous snakes, so people often harm the fox snake first and then ask questions later. I found another snake basking in the rock pile, so I tried to maneuver and catch it just like I did the fox snake, with no luck. I moved on to flip some of the rocks in the rock pile, and under one of them I found this salamander, an eastern red-backed salamander, one of the most common vertebrates in all of eastern North America. I flipped the log, and underneath I found what I think are best beetles. These are completely harmless to people, and apparently they communicate with clicking and hissing sounds, but none of these ones made any noise. I circled back to the rock pile one last time before leaving. I thought maybe that I'd be able to catch the snake that I lost earlier, but instead I found a different garter snake. And this one looks completely different than the other 2, even though they were only a couple hundred yards away from each other. They're the same exact species in the same exact mine, but still their colors are a little bit different, which is pretty cool. This one had an orangish red color, which is by far my favorite variation. I couldn't really get a good look at it from where I was, so I decided to move in closer. By all accounts of normal behavior, this snake should have left as soon as I approached it, because most interactions with wild snakes last about 5 seconds, but this one didn't seem to mind me. And I got to hang out with this one completely unbothered for around 5 minutes. The interaction with this garter snake alongside all of the other really cool animals I was able to find goes to show that despite decades of blasting, mining, and digging, destroying this landscape, when given enough time, nature will find its way back.